Welcome, everybody. Good evening. John Zegar. It's 10:36 in the evening, Friday night, on the eastern slope of Colorado. I hope everyone is well, doing well. Looking forward to having a good weekend, too. So, I was kind of thinking tonight. I thought I was going to be going to bed a little early, and I had a couple thoughts that came into my head, and I don't know, you might find them noteworthy, I think, I hope. And so I thought I would kind of take care of this and do this little podcast tonight, before I went to bed anyway. Kind of pass it along. I'm drinking green tea, hot green tea. A cup of hot green tea. It's very good. It's got a little bit of mint in it. Boy, do I like that. I think it got up to 77 today. And I think it's supposed to be warm tomorrow and the next day. But I don't know. I might be just making that up. It's been windy the past, since about 5 o'clock. And some of the gusts, I guess, have gotten up to 60 miles an hour. No real rain. Oh, I guess we got a couple drops here and there, but just wind. It's still warm out. Wanted to tell you a story tonight. I'm a pretty good storyteller. So I'm listening to the internet. This is not about me. This is just an inspirational story that hit my heart, and hopefully it will do the same for you guys, and I hope I can do it justice. I'm a little worried about if I can present it correctly. If not, find it on the internet. It's about this guy who now, today, I don't know, he looks like he's 40. But I don't know, he could be 30 for all I know. Good-looking, blonde-haired Australian guy, athletic build, well-dressed, right? Tells a story about he and his mum. I guess in Australia, you call your mother mum, M-U-M. I like that. And when he was a small boy, just born, he was born with some disease, degenerative, progressive, terminal disease. As near as I can tell, has something to do with his heart. As the story goes, you'll understand that. And it kind of comes to light, or starts, at the point where he is a small child, able to understand and comprehend. So I'm guessing he's 3, 4, 5, I don't know, maybe 6 or something. But his illness or disease was worsening, and he wasn't expected to make it past infancy And it was a disease that the doctors had not treated or knew much about. And for whatever reason, he got to childhood, 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there, and the doctors didn't expect him to make it past that. He had to go in to the emergency room quite often as a child and an infant, but I'm picking up the story from how he explained it, recalling going into the emergency room when he was a child quite often. And I believe there were some surgeries associated with his condition when he was a child. And his mom was an only mom. He was an only child. And he just had his mom. No siblings, no father around. Doesn't talk about that part, so I don't have any information about that. Just he and his mom. And his mom worked to support them. And of course she struggled, and as with any single parent, it was financially difficult. And there was a fair amount of stress on his mom. And of course he's just a little guy, and he's dreaming. Again, he doesn't understand really what's going on. He understands he's sick, but nobody ever told him he was terminal. And of course he had dreams and aspirations to be a big league baseball player. And he would practice and practice and practice, as much as he possibly could with his condition, even though it was limited. And he would dream and dream and dream. Hey, now that I talked about it hasn't rained, it's now coming down nice and steady. I can hear it on the roof. So he finally goes in for another surgery. One more of many that he's been enduring. And comes out the other side, and he's in his room, recovery room, I guess. And there's a curtain there. And the doctor comes in and evaluates. It's really coming down heavy now. The doctor comes in and really evaluates his condition after surgery, and the mom asked to talk to him, not near her son, so that he could hear. And they pull the curtain and they step aside, kind of away. And the mom says, "How's he doing?" And the doctor said, "There isn't anything more we can do. He's probably not gonna make it a whole lot longer." And the doctor goes ahead and leaves, and she pulls the curtain back and goes back in to sit next to her son, not to discuss that kind of stuff with him. And the little boy was able to overhear the conversation, although he didn't say anything to his mom. And he just said, "What did the doctor say?" And she looked at him and she said, "Son, everything is going to be all right." And he knew, but yet he believed. Her faith and belief was that strong. So he comes out of the hospital and goes home with Mom. Some time goes on, another year or so or whatever, and he's progressively getting worse now. And the doctors say they have a new drug that has not been released. It's just a trial drug for children with this disease that we don't know very much about, but it's terminal. And we'd like to be able to see if you would be willing to try it on your boy. And the mom, I'm just pouring some more ice, some more hot tea, sorry. And the mom asks, "Well, what are the chances?" And this, they're in the hospital now because he's gotten worse, and the mom's talking to the doctor again, but the boy can hear a little bit. Kind of leans over and tries to listen as much as he possibly can. He's still a small child. And the doctor says, "Well, we don't know much about this drug, but it's all we've got, and probably 95% chance your son won't make it, but he's not going to make it anyway." And she said to the doctor, "I don't want to know about what the odds are my son won't make it. I want you to tell me what's the percentage that my son might make it." And the doctor looks at her and he says, "Well, there might be a 3 or 4% chance that your son might survive." And she says, "That's all I needed to hear. Thank you." So she goes back to attend to her son in bed, pulls the curtain back, goes back and sits next to him, and the little boy says to his mom, "What did the doctor say?" And she looked at him and she said everything is going to be all right. And that was her faith and belief. She just needed 1% or 2, 3, 4%. That's all she needed. So the child goes on. He's now at the hospital full time now, and living there. And they place him on this medication that he has to take every day. And They had 25 kids, including him. At the end of 1 month, 24 were dead, and he was still alive. And he attributes his being alive not to the drug, but to the faith and the belief that his mother had in him surviving. So the story goes on where he comes out of it and recovers miraculously, if you want to say that, and grows up and comes over to America and gets into the minor league baseball and eventually major league, and lives out his dream. I believe it was his second or third year playing ball. At some point in the season, he slides into third place, third base, and blacks out and ends up in the hospital. 3 days later, he wakes up. He had had a severe, massive heart attack and was just hanging on. And of course, the Major League Baseball team had to let him go at that point. And he recovers for whatever reason. His mom now is getting a little bit older, and she's keeping track of him the very best she can, but she's not a young lady anymore. And he just remembered her faith and belief got him through it before, and now he used that to get himself through. And he went on to have a couple more heart attacks, and came back to Australia and got an interview with a bank. I'm going to skip part of this story. You'll hear it when you listen to it on the internet. But in a matter of, I believe it was 3 or 5 years, 3 years, he had worked himself up to, I don't know, assistant vice president of this entire bank throughout the entire country of Australia. He was a multi-millionaire, had $1 million house, cars, boats, beautiful wife, and was back up on top again, right? And through the grace of God, got there. During the interview that they do on the internet regarding this guy, he's there talking. And I don't know how old it is. It looks like it's pretty recent. I mean, he's still a young guy. Like I had said in the beginning, I think he was, at this stage, he was like 30 to 40, somewhere in there. And the youngest person who has been so successful in banking in Australia or something like that. And as he's telling the story, he stops and he says, I just had a call from the doctor the other day And I went in to talk to the doctor, and the doctor said I have some new cancer and lumps. I thought he said in his throat, but I'm not real clear about that. And it didn't look good, and kind of like third or fourth stage cancer. And the prognosis is poor. And as he's being interviewed and talking, he was saying that his mom called him after he had gone to the doctor to find out what the doctor wanted to tell him. And his mom asks him, what did the doctor say? And he said to his mom on the phone, he said, the doctor said everything is going to be all right. And that's where the kind of interview on the internet, they stopped it at that point. There wasn't any further, conversation or whatever. And it kind of stuck with me. So one of the things that we talk about on here on my little podcast is every day for, I've been doing this a few years anyway, along with my blogging and stuff. But we talk about all the different programs that are all very, very similar. And they're all wonderful. And they all have wonderful stories of people that have self-healed. Right? And they give you step-by-step, process and tools and how to have this happen. How to heal when you're on your deathbed. I like to joke and say how to get kicked out of hospice. And this story doesn't give you the ending. Excuse me. You can either assume he died, or you could, assume he continues. But I would think he would have come back on the internet and concluded that he's fine again or something. So my podcast tonight is real simple. You can take all these programs and work them, and I think they're miraculous. And I think there's people like Dr. Joe who is marvelous. He's found a way to communicate, and it seems to be working for, I don't know how many people he has following him. I want to say like thousands and thousands, and I'm guessing I may not be far off by saying that. But my message is a little clearer or simpler. And it's exactly what I just told you. Everything is going to be all right. And no matter what's going on with you, when things are just so large that you can't even conceive of everything working out, or when they give you, the news that you have terminal illness, for instance, or some disease or sickness or ill health, when your lack has reached a point that I don't know what's below lack. If you get to lack and you don't even have enough resources to have lack, I wonder what's below that. You get the idea, though, right? You get the idea of what I'm saying. Here's the point, and then I'm done. It doesn't matter if you have 95 or 6% probability of not making it in the natural. You believe the odds are so spectacularly against you, but all that you need, Mum, all that you need is 1, 2, 3, 4% that you're gonna make it, and that everything is going to be all right. Take care of one another. God bless you all. Look forward to talking to you all again real soon. Thanks. See you. Bye.